Warning, the following video contains constant references to the G1 cassettrons Rumble and Frenzy. It does not seek to answer the question of which one is red and which one is blue, and either colour may be referred to by either name during this video. If you feel strongly about this issue, grow up. Greetings fans, hyperfans, and people just lost looking for videos of cats on YouTube. Today we are looking at these guys. Now, a lot of you will think this is an incredibly late review, considering that the Masterpiece cassettrons came out maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years after I finished editing this video. But these are actually the KO version of these cassettes, which, yeah, okay, still came out about 8 months ago, but I've only recently got my hands on. This video is going to go through the differences between the Masterpiece ones and the G1 cassettes, the differences between these Masterpiece knockoffs and the original ones that shipped out with the Toys R Us Masterpiece Soundwave, and ultimately where you can pick these knockoffs off from for a fraction of the price that you'd be paying for these things on eBay now. So I have already opened up the Frenzy and Buzzsaw pack, and we'll get to those in a second, but in front of us we have Rumble and Jaguar, aka Ravage. So let me just grab something to open these up with. Just look at the box first. It's got a nice spot varnish over the logo, the cassette modes and the robot modes on the front. MP15, Destron, Cassettron, Rumble and Jaguar. Warning text on the bottom. What's included with the kit. Robots in cassette mode, and the fact you can fit them both into a Masterpiece Soundwave. BIOS, information, nice picture of Rumble on one side, and Jaguar on the other. For those of you not familiar with the Japanese names, that's obviously Ravage. So, it's a nice thick box, and inside we have everything in individual poly bags. Oh. A little baggie with the end caps and the blasters. Blasters actually have red handles, so you know that that belongs to Rumble. Poly bag with the instruction sheet and a collector's card. Collector's card's on a slightly thinner cardstock than the original one. This one looks really nice. My Frenzy and Buzzsaw one was a little bit bent in the package. Same image for both the humanoids, just palette swapped, and nice illustration of the bird and the beast. On the back you've got 2 sets of stats and photography of the robot mode. At least there you've actually got individual... Oh, let's see if I can bring those closer. Yeah, there you've actually got individual poses for the 2 robots rather than just mucking around with Photoshop. Ooh. The instruction sheet is huge. Tech specs for both robots, and cassette modes and weaponry. Transformation instruction sheet. Moving on to the actual fun stuff, you have the clear pink cassette boxes as opposed to the clear ones that shipped with the Toys R Us version. These are always good stand-ins for Energon cubes or semi-charged Energon cubes when you're playing with G1 toys. Here you have one cassette of Ravage, one red cassette for Rumble. Now they've got really nice prints on one side, just looking like 80s cassette stickers, and the back it's a little bit more obvious that they are actually transforming robots. But considering how much is actually squeezed into these, I'm not going to fault them on that. And the other thing that I really love about these G1 masterpieces is they finally come with the pile drivers, so they can do their trademark, oh that's a little bit stiff, trademark earthquake move. So let me just angle my camera down. So let's start with Rumble. This is the knockoff one straight out of the box, and here is the Toys R Us one. So let's have a look. So plastic quality is pretty much identical actually. Colours are a little bit brighter on the official one. The chrome on the chrome paint on the feet is pretty much identical. The back, Decepticon logo is not quite as fantastically printed on that one, and the chrome is a little duller. This has got the black screws which would have been used on the Takara release. I'd say that there's a mold flash problem there, but you've got the same one on the Toys R Us one. Only difference seems to really be the production code on the front of that. The inner robot parts seem to be a little bit darker, but let's see what they are in robot mode. So I transformed the KO off camera, but just to show you how easy transformation is with these guys, especially considering it's a masterpiece. Pull up the arms, work the legs down, extend those all the way out, which is a lot of folding backwards and forwards until you've got a full length leg. Not worth trying to just pull it straight down because those ball joints will pop out. Folding the feet down, lots and lots of ball joints here, so even the toes have got a good range of motion. Arms come down either side, bend at the elbow, fists just turn out. Those were a little bit tight on the KO, as was the head, but that head's quite tight too. And finally, extend the waist joint up, which I haven't done on that one. If I just move the camera a little bit closer, the original, whereas the here's chest and crotch prints are a little bit more silvery. I actually prefer it, but I guess it just comes down to accuracy. The red on the shoulders and the shins are pretty much identical, although there is a lot of difference in the red of the actual joints. So the thighs, the shoulder joints and the waist are all a slightly duller red on the KO. I can't quite tell with the eyes, let me just tilt them back. The red in the Toys R Us version is a little bit more metallic and actually just a little bit brighter on the KO version. So again, it's pretty much down to taste. The head sculpts are practically identical. All the detailing's picked up. I have to say that the thighs do look a little bit cheaper in that lighter plastic. The back is pretty much what you'd expect. Knockoff Rumble has got a tramp stamp, not present on the Toys R Us version, but yeah, they're pretty much identical. Okay guys, get armed up and come back in 5 seconds or so. Okay, so all armed up, but with the KO still on the left and the original still on the right. This is actually where a little bit more difference in the KO turns up. The accessories, neither of them actually fit as well as I'd like to. These pile drivers really do sort of hold on by luck and willpower rather than any sort of proper clip system. The plastic on the KO is a little bit cheaper. It's actually also a little bit brighter, and I do prefer the colours. The silver guns were actually a lot easier to plug in on the KO and actually still felt firmly secure without the risk of breaking it. I don't know if I'm just a little bit less cautious because it costs so much less. Now if I turn them round, I've got both their backpacks sort of forced on there because it's the only way you can keep them armed up with everything, and it also means they have a bit better balance with those huge pile drivers in the front. I just want to show you one thing on both of these. Now, can you see that little pink mark on the back of the original? And the fact that that's actually silver on the KO. So actually the KO has a better paint job than the original. So between those points, I think it's pretty much a dead tie for which one's better. Moving on to Ravage. Now Ravage, I have to admit, I have a special love for him, being one of the first Transformers that I got and probably one of the last that I let go. If I bring in the official Hasbro release, I'll start with the transformation. The transformation actually owes an awful lot to the Generations Ravage. He's got this two-part head that comes out, pull out the nose, squeeze it together, and rather than the original, which was a very long flat piece, you're actually working from the two halves, unpegging, unlocking everything. It's very tightly done. Really nice. Oh, hang on a second. Yep, okay, slightly thicker pegs than the original. The plastic on this is definitely painted as opposed to moulded in that grey. It's got a very shiny feel compared to the original. Back half, let me just grab the tail out. Another plus from the G1 version is that it actually has his weapon pack moulded in, so rather than having to store another set of missiles somewhere, they're just there on the side. Give it a slightly more panthery body shape by... oh, that's very stiff. Just moving the shoulders up and the head back down. Those are supposed to go on the inside. Paws out. And there we have him. And let me just get them into similar poses. And I'm going to bring the light in a little bit closer because those are very dark. Okay, so the first thing that you can tell is the eye on the KO version is so much brighter than the Hasbro one. Possibly a little bit too bright. Let's see, the Decepticon logo's a little bit clearer. The leg plastic is definitely different, but actually the rest of it seems fine and dandy. Actually slightly less mold flash on the KO than the original. Yeah, looking at them, if it wasn't for the texture on the legs and how bright that eye is, I really couldn't tell them apart. So just as a general review, once you've got it into bot mode, articulation is, you've got some movement up and down on the head, the ab crunch, the legs are all on ball joints at the top. These are universal joints. Tail wags. You've got double jointed knees, articulation at the ankle. At the front you just have the single jointed knees, but you have a turn there, mainly for transformation. That's very tight on the KO version there, to the extent that, oh, yeah, just turning it a little bit too far is going to rock it out. Nothing that a little bit of sandpaper won't fix. But, you know, it's a mark in the negative column. Yeah. Oh, let me see if I can pick that up. A whole bunch of black plastic just sort of jumped out when that popped out. So, without actually making it any looser, so not great. So between these two, yeah, I guess that the official release marginally wins out, pretty much just down to that one bit of mismoulding on the front leg. But on balance, that's kind of a QC issue, and I don't know whether other Toys R Us ones are as good as this, or if other KO ones are as bad as this. So, just by what I've got in my hand, I'm gonna say that official release wins just on quality. We'll talk about price in a second. So, one of the things that I do really like about this particular Masterpiece set because I'm not a masterpiece collector on the whole, is how they actually rack up against the G1 stuff. Soundwave has always been a favourite of mine, but while he's probably one of the only G1 toys that I would mix in with my classics, his cassettes kind of let him down. I mean, if I just bring in Frenzy for comparison, because I don't have a G1 Rumble. If anybody wants to give me one, I'd be really appreciative though. It's definitely a great update on the figure. It looks far more like the cartoon. It has the same chest designs, it has the same colour scheme, it even mirrors the stickers that were applied to the legs. The weapons are far more in proportion, and, you know, as you can see under this light, 30-year-old chrome doesn't survive that well, and because those were just held onto the arms on pressure clips, yeah, it's very difficult to actually find a set of these weapons in one piece. Articulation on this guy is fantastic, you know, head turns, ball joints, double hinges, hinges and ball joints, hinges, ball joints, wrist curl. On this guy, well, you've got the double elbows, which is cool, but his arms go up and down, no forwards and backwards there. Legs do that. The knees turn a little bit for transformation, and that's it. The head does a little bit of a sideways tilt, but mainly due to the springs giving out. So the Masterpiece cassettes are really cool. I mean, if I bring Ravage back in, so here we have Masterpiece Ravage, and here we have G1 Ravage. Oh. Yeah, that's kind of the problem with G1 Ravage, because he is so skinny. He's literally just the width of the tape. There's nothing to balance him. I mean, his missiles are huge and lovely, but they keep pulling him over to one side. Whereas that Ravage actually has some decent posability, some decent width to him, and he looks a little bit more cat-like. Always gonna love this guy, but yes, I am prejudiced on that. And just to finish the generations comparison, let's bring in Laserbeak and Laserbeak. Now I have to move my camera again to fit all of these guys in. So again, this guy is far more show accurate. These fold up and are part of the cassette form, whereas these ones are going to be removable and find somebody else to store it or lose them. And all the way back from the first couple of episodes, he does actually have this tiny pop-up camera on his head. Again, very show accurate. And that's kind of the thing that I really like about them, is that whilst they are an updated design, they still actually transform into their G1 selves. I mean, if I just show you the transformation on this guy, straighten those out, pull the legs up, I mean, this is actually probably the best engineered piece. The KO of Buzzsaw, which I don't have in front of me at the moment, is just as great. And it gives you a cassette. A robot side, fine. Cassette side, absolutely great. And if you have the G1 Soundwave, which I do, you can take out your G1 Buzzsaw and you can put in as long as you've got everything transformed properly, your Masterpiece Laserbeak or your Ravage. They're really cool because they will interact with the G1 toys. I mean, there have been other attempts to update the Cassettrons, quite a few of them actually making them not cassettes, but just sort of as minions of Soundwave. You can go from Masterpiece Ravage, back through Generations Ravage, War for Cybertron Ravage, and all the classic reissues. And you can actually see that the engineering has got better and better and better. As I said, I'm not really a Masterpiece collector, so I was not going to pick up Masterpiece Soundwave or even Masterpiece Sound Blaster because I really would like to get that Rat-Bat. But I did absolutely love the cassettes, so when I saw that Japan had released the cassettes only, I thought that's really fantastic, but it was still outside my price range. And the KOs are really serviceable. It's awful to think that these were produced to con people into think they were buying the original, but if you're buying them knowing exactly what you're getting, they look fantastic on your toy shelf. Because they are mirroring the Japanese releases, you have the double pack with Frenzy and Buzzsaw, and the double pack with Rumble and Jaguar, which means you are not going to get Laserbeak. If somebody is very clever, they will do a extended KO where they'll do Laserbeak and a knockoff of Rat-Bat, which you currently have to spend about 250 quid to get hold of, and the nice presentation box that you get with him, or Sound Blaster as he's labelled. The original Takara releases are going at silly prices on eBay. If you want to get the KOs, Paul over at Sir Toys have got them at that link down there. So remember kids, if you're keeping them in package, you're not a toy collector, you're a box collector. Till next time.